Welcome back to the CryptoWorld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and very soon we're just about to see a massive signal flash for Bitcoin, which has only happened just 2 other times in Bitcoin's entire price history. And on top of that, we also have this indicator telling us that we're about to see an extremely volatile move sometime soon, something like this, for example. So I'll be talking about all of that and more for Bitcoin and also Ethereum later in this video, so definitely stick around. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin chart, and we have 2 indicators on this chart, the 2 indicators being the RSI and the Pi cycle bottom indicator. And this Pi cycle bottom indicator is simply made up of 2 moving averages, and the moment they cross, in fact, the moment when the red line crosses underneath the green line, that is pretty much exactly when the bottom of the bear market comes into play, as we've seen the 2 previous Bitcoin bear markets. In fact, at the end of the 2014 bear market entering into early 2015, the moment we saw that cross in these moving averages, we saw the bottom for the bear market within the next 1 week. And looking at the end of the 2018 bear market, we saw that crossover in these moving averages, and in that same week we saw the bottom for the 2018 bear market. And also what happened during both of those times at the bottom of those previous significant Bitcoin bear markets, we also saw the weekly Bitcoin RSI briefly enter into oversold territories, and right now, as of recording this video, the weekly Bitcoin RSI is currently sitting in oversold territories, which has only ever happened just 2 other times in Bitcoin's entire price history. And once again, we are getting very close to having these moving averages cross over, which once again makes up that Pi cycle bottom indicator. And in fact, when you zoom into the 1-day Bitcoin chart, taking a look at these moving averages, you can see how close they're getting to actually crossing over. So based on their current trajectory, we could see this Bitcoin signal flash within the next 1 to 2 weeks. And once again, this signal has only ever flashed 2 other times in Bitcoin's entire price history, which were both very close to the bottom of the bear market, talking about the 2 previous significant Bitcoin bear markets. And now going back to the daily Bitcoin chart, and you can see that the RSI on the daily time frame is still trending to the upside, which basically means at the moment we're seeing reduced bearish momentum on the daily time frame, basically a pause in this downtrend like what we saw around a month ago, and also like what we saw in the first quarter of this year. So in the somewhat shorter term relative to the daily time frame, I'm still expecting mostly choppy sideways price action within this range set up in between around 19,000 and around 22,000. But what we are also now seeing on the daily Bitcoin chart, looking at the Bollinger Band, is a squeeze in this Bollinger Band indicator. And this usually happens after a time period of consolidation. Usually sideways consolidation brings a squeeze in this indicator. And anytime we see a significant squeeze in the Bollinger Band, that basically tells us that another significant move is coming sometime soon. And usually we see that volatile move in the Bitcoin price start to play out within around 2 weeks after we start a squeeze in the Bollinger Bands. On average, of course, some are shorter and some are longer. But based on these last 2 squeezes in the Bollinger Bands indicator on the daily time frame that both preceded another significant move in the Bitcoin price, from the moment the Bollinger Bands started squeezing on this first example, that was around 1.5 weeks before we had the significant volatile move in the Bitcoin price. And the second example was around 1.5 to 2 weeks. It was closer towards 2 weeks before we then played out that extremely volatile move. And as you can see here, the Bollinger Bands indicator has recently entered into this squeeze phase over the last couple days or so, which means potentially within around 1 to 2 weeks from now, we could experience another extremely volatile move. And just for reference, these last 2 volatile moves we experienced after having a squeeze in the Bollinger Bands was around a 36 to 37% move, and this second example, that was around a 44% move in the Bitcoin price. Now, something important to mention is the fact that the Bollinger Bands indicator does not actually tell us the direction of that move beforehand. It just tells us that we're due to see an extremely volatile move if we're in this squeeze formation, but that could be a bullish or a bearish move. So that is why we need to pay close attention to our support and resistance levels, because usually the moment we break one of those significant levels, like what we saw back here, that sparks the volatile move and confirms the direction of that move. So we need to pay attention to our support and resistance levels. And something important that is happening in around a week from now is the CPI data for last month will be released, which will update update the official inflation rate of the US dollar. And so it's possible that that could actually be the catalyst for the next volatile move in the Bitcoin price. For example, if the inflation number comes in a lot worse than expected, then we could potentially play out another leg to the downside, like what we saw back here when inflation came in a lot worse than expected. Or on the other hand, if inflation actually comes in lower than expected, it is possible we could experience a volatile move to the upside. So those numbers in around a week from now will be very important to pay attention to, and I will keep you updated. And also 2 weeks after those numbers come out, so in around 3 weeks from now, we have another Fed meeting. So basically, between now and a week, we could experience a little bit more choppy sideways price action, but starting in around a week from now, and especially towards the second half of this month, as we get closer to that next Fed meeting, we could experience a lot more volatility later this month. So just be aware of that. Now zooming into the short-term price action, taking a look at the 4-hour Bitcoin chart, we're still seeing a lot of choppy sideways price action once again with some very slight bullish momentum. But looking at the price oscillators, specifically the RSI and the MACD, they are showing signs of that bullish momentum potentially fading. And keep in mind, we still have some levels of resistance to pay attention to. A short-term level of resistance to watch out for would be coming into play at around 20.7 to 20.8k. But if we break above that level just there, one of the more important levels of resistance for Bitcoin in the somewhat shorter term would be this level just here, coming into play at around 21.8 to 21.9 thousand, so pretty close to 22,000. And as for support, we have a lot of support coming into play at around 19,000 based on this golden pocket Fibonacci level, and we also obviously have some support at this previous low coming into play at around 17,500. And now getting into the Ethereum part of this video, this right here is the weekly Ethereum chart, and we still have that 38.2% Fibonacci level providing a lot of support for Ethereum right here at around 1,050, and we're also seeing the weekly Ethereum RSI sitting in oversold territories, which has only ever happened just one time in Ethereum's entire price history, which was at the end of the 2018 bear market, because Ethereum wasn't even around for that previous crypto bear market back in 2014. And now when you zoom into the daily Ethereum chart, looking at the Bollinger Bands indicator, we are also seeing that same squeeze in this indicator, which once again means we're getting close to our next significant volatile move coming sometime soon, most likely within the next 1 to 2 weeks. And once again, we saw this happen for Ethereum as well around a month ago, and also back here during the end of April entering into early May. And just for reference, the size of those volatile moves that came after that squeeze in the Bollinger Bands, in that first example, we saw around a 42 to 43% move in the price of Ethereum. And in that second example, from when that volatile move started after that squeeze, we saw a 51 to 52% move to the downside. But once again, this indicator by itself does not tell us the direction of that volatile move. It just tells us that sometime soon, most likely within the next 1 to 2 weeks, we are due to see an extremely volatile move for the price of Ethereum, just like Bitcoin. And it's also great to see a technical indicator like this lining up really well with real world events, such as the release of that CPI data in around a week from now and the Fed meeting in around 3 weeks. Because from everything that we've seen so far this year, we usually experience a lot of volatility around those events, around the CPI days and around the Fed meetings. And separate from that, we usually experience a lot more volatility around this indicator after we experience a squeeze. So the fact that we're getting both of those combining around the same time, which is basically towards the middle and end of this month, all of this confluence significantly increases the chances of seeing a lot more volatile price action towards the second half of this month. And now taking a look at the 12-hour Ethereum chart, and we still have this potential ascending triangle pattern forming, but as of right now, we only really have 2 main touch points along this line of support and 2 main touch points along this line of resistance. And technically speaking, to actually confirm a pattern like this, not even to confirm the breakout, but just to confirm the fact that this pattern is actually forming, we really need to see a 3rd touch point along one of these lines, and this line of support is coming into play at around 1,070 approximately, and this line of resistance is coming into play at around 1270 to 1280. And obviously, just in the somewhat shorter term here on the 12-hour time frame, we're still in this choppy sideways range, but it is extremely likely that before the end of this month, the price of Ethereum here on this chart will either break this line of support or break this line of resistance. And when that eventually happens, that could potentially confirm the next significant direction for the price of Ethereum. And now zooming into the shorter term, taking a look at the 4-hour Ethereum chart, and over the past couple of days, we've been experiencing a lot of resistance in the short term around this previous Fibonacci level, which is sitting at around 1170. And anything above that, if we break above that level, I'll be looking towards this level up here at around 1270 to 1280, which is this level of resistance that I just mentioned on the 12-hour Ethereum chart. And going back to the 4-hour chart, our main level of support in the short term for Ethereum is coming to play at this golden pocket, which is sitting at around $1,000. And also keep in mind that other level of support based on that 38.2% Fibonacci level on the weekly time frame, that is coming into play at around 1,050. So really this range just here between 1,000 and 1,050 is some major support for Ethereum, at least just in the short term. And looking at the 4-hour Ethereum price oscillators, specifically the RSI and the MACD, and what we're seeing as of right now is signs of reduced bullish momentum in the shorter term. And this is actually quite similar to what we saw just here before a further pullback over the next 5 days or so. And it's also very similar to what we saw back here after we experienced some short-term bullish price action. We got those signs of reduced bullish momentum with the histogram within the 4-hour Ethereum MACD declining. And then we experienced a short-term pullback in the price of Ethereum that lasted for the next 1 to 2 days. So based on what we've seen over the past few weeks, if the current trend in the histogram within the MACD indicator on the 4-hour Ethereum chart continues in its current direction, and especially if the 4-hour RSI starts confirming some lower highs, then that would significantly increase our chances of experiencing a short-term pullback sometime soon for Ethereum. But keep in mind, a short-term pullback on this 4-hour chart is not that significant move I was talking about on the daily Ethereum chart around that Bollinger Band indicator, because obviously the smaller the time frame, the less significant the signal, and also these moves that look large on a smaller time frame, they're not that large on a large time frame like the daily chart, obviously. But that's basically the situation at the moment in a short term. Technically, we're currently in a short-term bullish trend, but the bullish momentum is fading. And just giving you a quick update on the Celsius situation, today they haven't been as busy on chain as what they were over the past 2 days. But since my last update, they did withdraw the rest of their Ethereum collateral out of their compound position, which was around 20,000 Ethereum worth approximately 22 million US dollars, and they sent that over to FTX. And after that, there hasn't really been any new updates. And of course, I'll keep you updated in real time over on my Twitter. And you can find a link to my Twitter in the description down below. And by the way, in case you're wondering, this is their compound position right here. There's still around $88 million worth of debt, but the net worth for this position, meaning the assets minus the debt, is sitting at above 200 million US dollars. And if you remember from a few days ago, this net worth for this compound position has gone down over the past 1 to 2 days. And once again, that is because over the past 1 to 2 days, Celsius has withdrawn all of the Ethereum from the collateral within this position. And once again, all of that Ethereum has moved to FTX in order to accumulate more stable coins to pay down this debt. And if you want to know how to maximize your profits in crypto, make sure to check out one of these videos popping up right here on your screen. In the top left is a video that shows you how you can make money if the price is going up or down. And in the bottom left is a video showing you how you can make money if the price is just chopping around sideways. But anyway, that's everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next video.